Alright, what's up everybody? Hagan here. I wanted to make a video showing my spreadsheets on how I track universe mode. I see this discussion all the time. I've talked about it with people on YouTube, on Reddit. So I'll post a link in this video that you can maybe copy this if you want and then adjust it to make it your own. But I'll start out with my universe mode spreadsheet basically. This has gone over 4 years of adjustments and trial and error and changes, and I find this is the best way for me, especially this year. I'm really happy with how I'm able to track stories and use my imagination to make it my own universe. So basically on the first tab here is I created my calendar. So obviously the start of the year I put in green here. We're going to start with Backlash in May, Money in the Bank in June, so on and so forth. I moved King of Ring here. I'm going to use, Bad Blood, etc., etc. So this is just my calendar, how I want it set up. I put Crown Jewel in January. And I also added here, basically these are guarantees on, or like what happens in what situation. For example, Money in the Bank winner gets a surprise cash in. I put King of the Ring winner gets title shot of choice at Night of Champions. So in September, I get my King of the Ring winner and I build that story so they can take on the champion at Night of Champions. Crown Jewel, we put WWE champ versus world champ, both men and women's. But then I'm going to also do tag champion versus tag champions. Winner of the Royal Rumble picks WrestleMania opponents. Winner of Elimination Chamber gets other champion. And then for like my rivalries, I made a list of what I think each stipulation is. Basically, we stage 1, we have all the underground, brawl, table, ladder, falls count anywhere, no holds barred, extreme rules, etc. And obviously, like this goes without saying, you can adjust this how you see fit. So these are my stage 2, special guest referee, cage match, TLC, Iron Man. I think those are a little bit more intense than stage 1. And then obviously your stage 3, if you get to a stage 3 rivalry, so all my rivalries don't get to stage 3. Some finish at stage 1, some at 2, some push to a 3, and those are the Hell in the Cells, the Caskets, the Ambulance, Last Man Standing. I'm considering moving Iron Man there too, but again, this is just what you want to do, how you see fit. So I use this as my first tab, and this kind of like, I always refer back to this on how I got to plan out, and I usually plan backwards from Mania best I can, but I adjust it, and I usually look at a 3-month picture as well. So if you take a look here, I have all my pay-per-views set. I have in green who I'm going to try to make win. But what I also do is I'm the type of person who, if something crazy happens, and I put the difficulty higher, or, I may get pinned on the person I'm controlling. And I may have to adjust my storylines. I think that makes it more fun. But for example, I'm working on these 3 months right now for my first year of Universe Mode, where I have Backlash, Money in the Bank, and Great American Bash, where I have the matches I want there, and I get that all set. But I also have longer planned stuff here that I know I want, and I know who's going to win King of the Ring. I just have to add it in. I know who I want to win the Royal Rumble, because I know who I want to wrestle main event WrestleMania. So I just haven't put those there, but I have them written down, as well. So let's go to Raw. I don't use the women tag titles. So I don't have those listed here, but what I do is I list my roster. This is my world heavyweight division, my women's. I move the titles around a little bit year to year, just to refresh them. My United States division, my women's intercontinental division, my tag team division. And what I do here, for example, let's say if Randy Orton or let's say Braun Strowman's a title holder, he won it on the date listed here, May 1st. I'll put that in, 5/1. I'll put the day they lost, 7/13. And then I'll put, it was held for, 60 days or whatever. And then once this gets filled, I'll show you guys where I move that to. But I always keep in gold my longest reigning champion at for each belt, basically. So that is just like my title tracking history, which I eventually move to a different thing once these get full, to a different tab, I should say. So here is my weekly cards, and I'm building towards Backlash on this card. So I do 5 matches, and I label them A1 through A5, and then as you can see, because I need to use those letters sometimes. Is there any down here? I have some on SmackDown, I think. But I use those letters sometimes, like I'll put in C4 versus Rhea, C4 winner versus Rhea, for example, like that. So that's, a way to recall a previous result. This is just counting, how many matches. I used to have 6. I tinker with this too sometimes. This right here is describing what's happening. So this is the World Heavyweight Title #1 Contenders match. Okay, that keeps, just keeps me organized. This is a title match. Title match. These are fillers where if someone's not involved in a current storyline, I can still see some, I can mix up and have more, where I'm not using the same person often. So this is my checklist I've created this year. This is kind of new. These are my checklists for like the story mode, or the storylines I'm kind of going through at the moment. So this is the World Heavyweight Title storyline going on. I got non-title stories. I usually keep 2 of those going. And what these stories do is they allow me to space things out and like I said, just keep track. So this is my first goal. When I book it, I put the X there. So like I want Braun Strowman to become #1 contender. I want him to win at Backlash. And like I said, let's say I'm controlling Braun Strowman and I end up losing somehow. Now I have to get my creative juices flowing and readjust my storyline for something I may have already planned. Just like happens in real wrestling where someone gets hurt, or they change the story for whatever reason. Someone gets arrested. I don't know. Reasons that storylines have to change because of real life consequences. Like I said, if someone gets injured or someone's contract runs out, things like that. So then I want Braun Strowman to lose via cash-in from Jacob Fatu. Okay, so that means Jacob Fatu is who I want to win Money in the Bank. I have to put that in the pay-per-view calendar, right here, Jacob Fatu to win Money in the Bank. Because then on this episode here, after Money in the Bank, right here, Jacob Fatu cashes in Money in the Bank. That's my goal. And I have my whole storyline, and I can, I want this to happen at Survivor Series. So as I'm going through this, every 3 months or so, I have to adjust my storyline to keep track of it. Some of you may be like, wow, this is too much. I get that, Some people, when I've shared this on Reddit before, in years past, they really like how I've tracked, these rosters, these titles, and the, building towards a pay-per-view. This is new to me on how I'm tracking these stories, but let me tell you, my creative juices are flowing. It's been fun. And I have the same thing for SmackDown. Basically, it's just a mirror. It's exactly the same. Let me see. Like I said right here, look, I'm B4 repeat because it's a rematch. So I'm going to have a women's US title match. Shotzi's going to win it. And if you look here, Thea Hale with LA Knight, I'm having a storyline with them, so I'm including him. Let me do that. But if you look, yeah, so like B3 versus Obafemi, because in B3, D1 from Backlash. See, it gets, so whoever wins this and D2 from this, that's like I have a tournament filled out for a triple threat match. The winners face each other here at B3, and then that winner is going to go into a storyline with Obafemi. And that's a little bit open. Like, I'm going to sim those matches. I don't know who's going to be in the story with Obafemi, And here it is too, like I got a non-title story here. My goal is for Sammy to put Karrion over as a good heel, So that's going to end in a pay-per-view only where he wins a casket match. I have a stipulation match in here, I haven't decided which one I'm going to do, but look, falls count anywhere. When I go back to my calendar, that's under stipulation 1. So stipulation 2 is going to be one of these kind of matches. And then I'm going to end the feud like you saw with a casket match. Any stories I've completed, I'm going to put here just in case I don't want to, run the same story or do something like that. This is another tab I'm working on. It's a work in progress. This is going to be like my superstar checklist, similar to like my story checklist. But this one's going to be like, I want Braun Breaker to become a 15-time world champion. I want to track that somehow. Or, if I want, I want Chad Gable to win a mid-card title. I want him to win a Money in the Bank. So I'm working on this one. This is a work in progress. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate that. Here we got title history, and this is what I'm talking about. Once this gets full with like title changes, I put every single title change in here. But then when that gets full, I can move here, like, and I can add. All right, so if Randy wins, I can add up. You know, he's had another title shot or a title defense, and what is his longest reign, for example. I basically did that with the women's titles, the tag team titles as well. This is just if you want to keep everything in order here on one for Raw and SmackDown building. This is just the men's divisions by itself. This is how I did it last year, where I was tracking both shows at once, just basically by division. We have a tag division. When I do use a women's division, I have it, or a women's tag division, I have it there. I have a legends division. I'm considering this year doing like a Wednesday show where it's just like the legends show, and then there's a men's belt and women's belts. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet, but I could always incorporate it if I want it. I'm ready, and I have it built in. Like I said, we had a superstar checklist here that I'm working on. This is just another version so people can edit if they want. This is another title change templates. Like I said, I started putting the longest reign on top and putting it in gold. This is if you want to plan 3 months at a time on one spreadsheet. And like I said, there's different ways you can do it. This is 6 months of pay-per-views. Let's see. It looks like this one it has both shows plus a pay-per-view, so it's all on one sheet for you if you don't want to get too in-depth with the stories. More division templates, you know. I was brainstorming this on like what I want out of the titles. Then this is kind of what led me into how I'm going to track my stories, and so this is just something if other people want to use that as well. So this is kind of I said I'd make a video. This is kind of what I'm going to use this year. Basically, it's going to be this calendar, these 3 completed stories, and then up to 5C. That's kind of where I'm going to basically, those are the ones I'm going to use, because I've really, like I said, having this checklist has really made creating storylines fun for me. Might not be fun for you, but like I said, I'm going to put this link in the video. If you have any comments to add, if you have any suggestions, I'm open for learning something new, what other people do. Please put it in the comment section, and I want to thank you guys for listening to me rant about this. I might have went a little long, but I got excited because I've been working on this for, like I said, 4 or 5 years, and I feel like I finally found something that is like really gonna make Universe pop for me this year. So thanks again for tuning in. Please like this video, comments with your thoughts, your ideas, and if you really enjoyed what I brought to the table, please subscribe. Thank you guys. Have a good one.